This is the drop point version of the Gerber Edict folding knife. With its linerless FRN handle with a rubber overmold. And one awesome and fairly large 154 cm blade. Made in the USA at Gerber's factory in Portland, Oregon. It's a tip-up carry. Very comfortable in the hand. And I quite like it. This is, in the short time I've had it, become another favorite EDC of mine. Like the Gerber Order I reviewed previously. I like it so much so that I'm going to say something that sounds, well, blasphemous to some people. It's a downright heretic? I'm going to sound like a heretic. Heretical, is that a word? I like this better than a Benchmade Griptilian. There, are you still there? Hello? I didn't lose you, did I? Alright. Why in the world do I like this better than a Benchmade Griptilian? Mostly, it is because of the handle. I had and carried a Benchmade Griptilian for, not quite a year, and quickly discovered the handle, for me anyway, was too chunky. It was too thick in the center. And let's compare these side by side. I, in fact, have that Benchmade Griptilian right here. After I bought the Gerber Edict, I liked it so much that I just didn't carry the Griptilian anymore. And I actually ended up giving this to my dad. This is my dad's knife now. This is that same Griptilian from before. And my dad decided he didn't like the clip on this. So at the moment this has no clip, and my dad, when he carries and uses this, just carries it loose in the pocket. And now I want to compare side by side these two handles. And for me, the problem was the swell in the center of the Griptilian's handle. Well, one of the problems I had with this. And this is incredibly lightweight for how large it is. There's only partial steel liners in here to reinforce where the pivot and the axis lock mechanism are. I do like the axis lock very much. It's got a great action. It's a fun knife to play with, I'll give it that much. But in spite of how lightweight and otherwise, easy this was to carry, I saw somebody in the YouTube comments on another review, and I wish I could remember what review it was. Somebody commented that walking around with a full-size Griptilian, I can't speak today, walking around with a full-size Griptilian in your pocket feels like walking around with a corn dog clipped to the inside of your pocket. And yeah, I kind of agree with that person. This feels, just to me anyway, a little bit too chunky and thick compared to the Gerber Edict. It's just thinner and flatter in the handle. Oops. Just thinner and flatter in the handle than the Griptilian. And then we've come to our other issue. This is an otherwise really comfortable handle, if not for this sort of molded texturing, or I guess jimping, on both sides. It's on the bottom and the top of the handle. And I know this is not the case with everybody. Everybody's mileage varies. My dad carries and uses this knife quite a bit. This is his new favorite knife now. He loves it. But for me, with my big spidery Sasquatch hands, my big hands did not agree. Just did not agree. See, I told you I couldn't talk. My hands did not agree at all with this molded jimping. It just bites into the side of my hand down here and into my pinky finger over here. I just don't like it. And, you know, overall, I don't hate this knife. I like this knife, but I don't love it like some people did, or do. So last year when the 560 Freak came out, which is constructed similarly to this, only it has a broader blade made out of S30V blade steel, and so like the Order, it has a kind of a rubber overmold to make it kind of squish in your hand and be comfortable. A lot of people said that the 560 Freak was going to be the Griptilian killer. Like a lot of people thought the Boker Patriot was going to be the Spyderco Delica killer. Spyderco Delica is too popular. It's never going away. Neither is the Griptilian, and I think rightfully so. I don't think the 560 Freak, though it is a great knife, it's an awesome knife. I have one of those, and I personally like that 560 Freak a lot better than I do the Griptilian. I like the Gerber Edict a lot more than I do the Griptilian. So for me, personally, yeah, the 560 Freak, for me personally, is a Griptilian killer, though I doubt overall this is never going away. I can't see this ever not being Benchmade's flagship model even. This has been their most popular folder for many years now, and I think it's going to stay that way. It's just not for me. I don't hate this, don't get me wrong. I'm not bashing on Benchmade or on the Griptilian. I was almost tempted to get some aftermarket handle scales, something to make this handle thinner and flatter, but in the end I ultimately just got this and gave it, or I gave the Griptilian to my dad, and I got this and started carrying this. And, well, I do very much prefer this in the hand and in the pocket to the Griptilian. There are some things I like better about the Griptilian. I can tell you right away, I like the axis lock better than I do the lock back on the Edict. It's just more fun to play with, more fun to fidget with. So that half stop in the lock back on the Gerber does sound nice, though. I like the double click sound that it makes. Oh, that just sounds cool. I don't know why. So I like the Benchmade's locking mechanism better. Who doesn't like the axis lock? I can't think of anybody who doesn't like the axis lock. And then, if you've been paying attention, you probably already noticed the Edict's clip is not swappable to the left side. Or for some reason, Gerber does that with a lot of their knives, even higher end, expensive knives from them. Like their Decree flipper with the S30V blade, that's not exactly cheap, and it's only drilled and tapped for right side carry, tip up or tip down. The Edict is just tip up, right side only, even though it's a lock back and has dual thumb studs. What? So it's otherwise ambidextrous, and like the Gerber Order that I like so much, which is also right side carry only, we have this little FRN insert underneath where the clip lands on the handle, so your pocket can't drag on the rubber overmolds, and the knife isn't snagging on your pocket as you're trying to draw it out. The part of your pocket that is in contact with the handle of the knife, being held down under the end of the clip here, is just gliding over the smooth FRN. So that is a really nice, even ingenious feature of some Gerber folders. So I say, why not go all the way? Why not mirror that insert on this side and also drill and tap the other side of the handle? Or rather, this is a linerless handle. It's not as simple as drilling and tapping it. And I don't know if I can show it. I don't have my flashlight on the table to show you. I got a gazillion flashlights back there. What am I talking about? So let's grab the angle lux. Ooh, maybe that's too bright. Maybe you can kind of see it down in there. Well, maybe not. you might just have to take my word for it. There's some little metal inserts in there where the screws that hold on the pocket clip actually go into the handle and are anchored in place. So it's not like the screws are going directly into the FRN. And it's the same on the Benchmade. And again, let me wash out everything with the entirely too bright angle lux. And you can see it a little bit. There's little inserts kind of inset in the FRN or polymer or GRN or whatever you want to call it. So even the way the clips attach is similar. The blade shapes are similar. These even use the exact same blade steel. These are both 154, whoops, out of focus again. 154 cm. 154 cm, also on the Gerber. Look how similar those blade shapes are, though. It's a little bit deeper, more aggressive belly on the Gerber, though. And I said ergonomically I prefer the Gerber. I was looking at this in the stock images. I was worried this little sort of guard thing here on the end of the handle was going to be a problem, but it's actually not. In a standard saber grip, my thumb lands right on the back of that, and that functions somewhat like a thumb ramp. And then if I want to choke up on the blade, you have this cutout or this dip in the spine here, which I thought was just cosmetic. That was just to make the blade shape look more interesting, but when I choke up on the blade, that is actually right where my thumb lands. I don't know if that's an intentional design feature. That's just the way it is. That's just the way it happened. And that is the whole unbiased truth from me. For me, the pros to this, for me personally anyway, far outweigh the pros to the Benchmade Griptilian. I don't hate the Griptilian. I could never hate the Griptilian. It just wasn't for me. And at least the story has a happy ending there. I gave it to my dad and he likes this real well. That is about all I've got to say as far as the comparisons. I also want to give a shout out to the customer service at Gerber. This is my second Gerber Edict. The first one I ordered out of the box had some blade play. The lockup wasn't exactly solid. It had a little bit of side-to-side play. This one doesn't have any. And when I first got this, I thought it had a little bit of up and down play, but I realized it's not actually in the lockup. If I press down right there on the lock bar, there's no up and down movement at all, so that tells me this has the same problem that a lot of modern lockbacks have today for some reason, and that is the hole in the handle where the pivot screw actually goes through is just a hair too large. So it's the pivot screw itself just kind of floating back and forth a little bit up and down. So the play is not in the lockup itself, just the pivot screw. I think you can even hear it has a little bit of up and down creep. So that I'm not too worried about, because at least I know it's not the lock bar and the blade wobbling around, rolling off of each other where they make contact. So I at least know the lockup is solid. Unlike on my first Gerber Edict. And I thought I fixed the problem. I don't even remember what size Torx bit that is, if that's a T7 or T8 or what. So I tightened it down, so I thought, and it felt like the blade play had gone away altogether. And then a few days later it was back, and it was worse than ever. And I thought, okay, I'll just back out the pivot screw and put some blue Loctite on there. And I put the bit back in, and I turned it to the left to unscrew it, and it didn't unscrew. Instead it made an ugly clicking noise, like a rapid click, 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 almost like a typewriter. It sounded really, really ugly. And then I remembered, This is a linerless handle. It's just the FRN. There's no steel liners down in there. We have the male end here on this side and a female end. And I'm guessing the female end is dovetailed. It's flat on one side and goes through a corresponding dovetailed hole in the FRN. It goes through a hole that is circle shaped but is flat on one edge, so the female end of the screw can't rotate when you make an adjustment to the male end. And my guess is that that dovetailed hole in the FRN handle was warped and the female end was just skipping over it, and I couldn't get it out. And I emailed Gerber's customer service, told them what happened, I mailed the knife to them, and I believe less than 2 weeks later I got in the mail this. It's a brand new Gerber Edict with a drop point blade and the green rubber overmolds on the FRN handle. So Gerber took care of it. They took care of it quick. No questions asked. I know a lot of people like to thrash on Gerber, particularly on their imported stuff. There's plenty of horror stories about the paraframes or their Chinese-made multi-tools. I still really like their American-made stuff, and if you have a problem with something of theirs, maybe before you go and thrash on them, give them a chance to make it right. And in my case, they definitely made it right. One of the best things in the world is good customer service, and my experience with Gerber's customer service, I am glad to say, has been very, very good, very positive. And I haven't had this knife long enough to really put it through its paces. The blade still looks pretty clean and free of scuffs and that nice bead blasted finish. So I will continue to carry and use this and enjoy it. Probably more than I did the Griptilian. Now my dad's going to continue to carry and use and enjoy this. And that has been my experience so far with the Gerber Edict. If you're left-handed, I can tell you maybe steer clear of it till Gerber decides to make the clip swappable to the other side. Come on, Gerber, why do you have dual thumb studs and a lock back and just a right side only clip on an otherwise ambidextrous knife? Oh well. So if you're right-handed like me, yeah, check out the Gerber Edict, and I hope you don't have the same problem I did with the pivot screw. And that is about all I have got to say about that.